every way to try and get you to tell us if you're going to play the starters. Shout out to Dave for trying to do it.
Dave, you did the other night?
He did it. So
You, Dave? Oh, you, Dave. Okay.
So I'll try it this way. Let's say you were talking to a pregame producer and he needed to decide whether you're going to have the starter graphics or the guys that aren't. What would you say?
Same thing I said to you guys. I mean, we'll see. I mean, again, you go through these practices, you go through the week. We've had a good 3 days of practice, looking to get our fourth one in here today. We got to see what it's like after this and where guys are how guys are feeling. They don't particularly know exactly what we're doing yet, so they deserve to know before anybody else.
Nick, will the weather do anything?
We'll see. Yeah, everything's always you asking the weather? Yeah, everything's always taken into account. We'd be foolish not to take everything into account, and we will take everything into account, including weather.
Will the weather have everything?
Including weather, yeah.
So
yeah.
if it's a bad weather night, that could change what.
We'll see. Yeah, everything will be taken into account. Yes.
The forecast is pretty serious out there. So have you had talks with the Ravens or the league about the safety of potentially playing something?
We're ready to go and go play. And we'll see what happens. Those are things that are out of our control. And we'll do, we'll play. If they say we play, we play. And if they say we don't, we don't. So we'll see how it goes. We'll monitor it. We do, we'll always get ready for wet weather games, the way we do some things in walkthrough, the way we do some things in practice. We did some things yesterday as far as our operation and kicking with the weather and with the ball.
How has your philosophy changed over time in the league about the value of those limited sacks that starters get, the risk versus reward element?
Every year's a little bit different. The first year in 21, we played our guys in the first game. I think, was that against the Steelers, 1 or 2 series? I think 1 or 2 series, the first game against the Steelers. Then the plan was to play the next game. We didn't for some circumstances that happened. Then the 2022, we played the starters for a drive. 23, we didn't. So everything's a little bit different based off of when you play, how many practices you had before the game, all those different things. So everything's taken into account. You have some general philosophies of what you think, but you have general philosophies for a lot of things, but those are constantly changing and evolving.
You want Jalen to be more hot this year versus blitz?
We're working through different ways to handle the blitz. Of course, hot answers are one answer. Throwing quick's another answer, and there's multiple answers that you have. We want to be able to be multiple and want to be able to handle the blitz.
Nick, when you look back at Kellen's history, what impresses
I said we were working it, yeah. Well, I said we were working it, yeah, so yes.
When you look back at Kellen's history, what stands out about his play calling?
Yeah, again, I just think he has a really good flow of how to do it. He really sees into the quarterback's vision. Him playing quarterback at a very high level sees into the quarterback's vision and how he sees it. It's just when to call the big play, when to run the football, when to play action. It's just his feel and flow for the game. And those are conversations, you could put a game on and see that. But those happen more. You never know exactly what they're thinking unless you go through an interview with them or unless you have these personal conversations with them. And so, that's where you're getting a lot of the information as far as how Kellen calls it and how you feel comfortable about how he calls it.
What's the approach for kickoffs in the preseason? Are you keeping that close, or will you?
Yeah, we'll see how we do that. We have a plan. We have a plan that's you'll see in a couple days.
Hey, when it comes to young players, Nick, it seems to us, and correct me if I'm wrong, that maybe an ice is fighting the football a little bit, a couple drops. How do you address that? How do you try to build back that confidence?
It's a rowdy group over here today. Rowdy group. When you go out to play any practice, any game, you always want to be detailed in everything that you do, right? That starts with knowing what to do, your assignment, right? Being in the right spot, getting the right check, getting in the right location, doing the right thing. And then it comes down to the detail of the fundamental, the tackling, the catching, the block destruction, the combo blocks, the blocking, all those different things are into play. So what we're looking for every day is so many plays go wrong because something goes wrong with the detail. Now, sometimes you lose a one-on-one battle. Sometimes that's going to happen. Everybody's really good in this league. But when you look at a lot of majority plays that don't go right, it's about a detail that happened. Did somebody not do the right thing? Did the coach not call the right thing in the right situation? Was our fundamentals bad? So that's something, anytime you come out here, we're looking to perfect. Because we know if we can perfect the tackling, what limits big plays? Being on the same page on defense and tackling the ball carrier well and getting off blocks. Those are fundamentals, right? What creates big plays on offense? Well, being on the right page in protection, right? The catch, the blocking up front. So it's always about fundamentals. So that's what we're looking for in everybody that plays. So what we're doing when we go in there and correct a fundamental, when we go in there and correct a fundamental, it's always about, hey, you dropped this pass, why? You didn't get off this block, why? Because the worst coaching point in the world, and I hate this coaching point and I hate hearing this, is catch the ball. Oh, I tried to. Get off the block. I tried to. How? Right? And so that's what's talked about in the meeting room, right? That's what's fixed in the meeting room. Hey, you mentioned it nice. Hey, you dropped this ball that was low. Were your hands a little bit apart? Did you try to turn up the field? Hey, let me show you one. Here's the proper fundamental. Here's the proper fundamental to get off a block. And now we have unbelievable players on our team and so much tape at our disposal, because now we can go, okay, Anais, watch AJ how his pinkies are together when the ball's below his waist. Watch AJ when he goes to the ground, and instead of going to the ground and letting the ball pop out, he gets to his back, right? And so it's those little details. If I hear one of my coaches say, catch it, I'm upset. I'm upset. Because it's about how you do it, and that's what we go about in that film room, and that's how we go about correcting things like fundamentals, because it's in the fundamentals, it's in the detail that you win games and that you win plays.
Why was it important to you
Details are really important to me, so that's why I took a little extra time on your question.
in the team meeting this spring in front of everybody? Why was it important for you to take responsibility on your shoulders for one
Sure. Accountability, right? Is the only way to get better is to really look through the things that you felt like you messed up and get better at them, right? But it starts with the humility to say, I messed this up. I need to be better at this. If you want a culture of accountability and you're not being accountable yourself, let me rephrase this. If I want Taylor Sirianni to be accountable, I actually just talked about this to our staff today. If I want Taylor Sirianni to be accountable and she sees me blaming things on other people at all time, I'm raising a child that's not going to be accountable. Well, it's the same thing with a team, right? If I'm not accountable to that I mess up, pardon my language, if I'm not accountable to the things that I mess up, how am I going to expect them to be accountable to what they mess up, right? And so that's been day one here. That's just not off-season 2024 going into the 24 season. That's been what I've tried to do day one. And I think our world is dying for accountability in a world where there's so many things that you can blame things on. I've said this before. One of the most proud I've ever been of this team is after the Super Bowl, after a loss in the Super Bowl, everyone was trying to give us an out. The field was really bad, right? Now they had to play, and the response of our players to that, no, they had to play on it too. But that call on Bradbury, I mean that's what lost it. No, it was a series of plays. But what about this? And what about that? And what about how everybody was trying to hand us an excuse, and they just kept going back to no accountability. That's a team. That's the culture that we want to have. That's the family I want to have as accountability. And accountability is it's just so important. If you don't have accountability, then you're not going to get better, because you're not going to recognize the mistakes that you made. And so that's what we want from this team. That's any meeting that we start out that I feel like I made a mistake on, I'm gonna make sure I bring it up, and it's not just me up there fixing corrections in front of the team after each practice, right? It's And I'm saying, hey, Elliot, you play wide receiver. You screwed this up. You want to play wide out? All right, right. Bo, you play quarterback. You screwed this. Okay, you want to be quarterback. You screwed this up. No, it's, hey, Kellen, this is not the right call. Everybody's accountable. We're all accountable, and that's the only way to get better, and I firmly believe that.
Two more. Was ahead of Steen yesterday. Is that because Steen's still limited, or is that some sort of shift that we saw before the injury?
We don't have to make a decision quite on that yet. Obviously, they're still battling for to who's going to play at that position. Really have high hopes for both of them, and we'll see how that plays out.
Before Steen's injury, he had all the reps at first team right guard.
Well, how many? Yeah. We're still. It's not a shift. We're still battling. And they were battling before that as well, regardless of the reps.
Nick, what kind of steps did you take to get on the same page with Jalen during the offseason?
Yeah, go through all the same processes that we go through after each year, and Jalen and I are in a really good place. Every relationship that you have needs work that with everybody, and we've always continued to try to work at that.
All right, thanks, folks.
Thank you.